So restoration. This is the part 2 of the divine principle. And this is an introduction to the principle of restoration in the divine principle. Okay, so let's read. The providence of restoration refers to God's work to restore human beings to our original unfallen state so that we may fulfill the purpose of creation. Right, so this is the purpose of the providence of restoration, right? Purpose of the restoration is the purpose of creation, realizing the purpose of creation. So as discussed in part 1, human beings fell from the top of the growth stage and have been held under Satan's dominion ever since. To restore human beings, God works to cut off Satan's influence. Yet, we must have the original sin removed before we can sever Satan's bonds and be restored to the state before the fall. So one important thing is, in order to restore our original purpose of creation, we have to remove our original sin. Right? That's the first important thing. So original sin, I think we talked about this last week or 2 weeks ago, right? So the original sin is basically we are in, that is the fact that we are in Satan's lineage. Therefore, when we are born in here, Satan's lineage, as Satan's child, right? So therefore, Satan can claim you no matter what, no matter what happened, no matter what kind of situation you are in, or no matter how much you make effort to become a good man or a good woman. So, beyond everything, so Satan can always come to us because we are born in his lineage, right? So that is the original sin. So if we are in here, then we can't get out. We can't cut off the Satan's lineage. That's why we need the Messiah, right? Maybe we may talk about it later again. So in order to come back to our original God's idea, we have to get out of this one. We have to get out of the Satan's lineage, come back to the God's lineage. That is the absolute condition. Without that, we cannot fulfill our purpose of creation, right? So this is possible. Okay, coming back, removing original sin, talking about. This is possible only when we are born anew through the Messiah, the true parents. Right? To explain further, we first need to go through a course to separate Satan from ourselves. We do this in order to restore ourselves in form to the spiritual level which Adam and Eve had reached before the fall, the top of the growth stage. So this means like this. Okay, so now divine principle said it is removing original sin is possible when we can reborn, right? When we can be reborn through the Messiah, through the new Adam and the new Eve. So new Adam, new Eve is the true parents. Adam and Eve were supposed to become their true parents, but they did not, they could not. Then they failed, then they became their fallen Adam, fallen Eve, then therefore we need a new Adam and a new Eve as the true parents, and the true parents is the Messiah. Then only through the true parents we can be reborn. So that means born again, right? Born again where? Born again in God's lineage. Born again as the new Adam and the new Eve's child. that means like we can be reborn as the God's child, right? So that is possible only through the Messiah. Then, which one else we are talking about? Okay. So in order to do that, it says, right, we have to go through a course to separate Satan from ourselves. So we have to go through that kind of a course. Okay, so here, the separation from Satan. We have to separate Satan from ourselves, right? We have to go through this kind of a course so that we can restore the position here, like that Adam and Eve fell from the top of the growth stage, right? So therefore, like first, we have to kind of come back here. Of course, we cannot like truly come back here because we are in Satan's lineage. You know, then Adam and Eve were not Satan's lineage; they were with God, right? So you know, like, but like the through the separating Satan, still we can grow. You know, still we can grow spiritually. Then divine principle said, right? So we have to restore ourselves in form to the spiritual level which Adam and Eve had reached before the fall. So I don't know, that's kind of not so easy, to me, not so easy to understand this English, but that means like somehow we have to separate Satan, then set the condition that we could restore this level, top of the growth stage, by separating Satan and spiritually growing, right? So then that when we reach that kind of level, then we can receive the Messiah. So then through the Messiah, we can be reborn, right? That is a rebirth, right? So then through the Messiah, then when we are reborn, then we can restore the position here. Restore the position before the fall. So that means we come back to the God's lineage, like Adam and Eve was. Adam and Eve were in a God's lineage like that. Then we can restore that kind of position. Still not perfect. Still we are on the way to the reach perfection. But you know, this is a very important things that should happen if we want to restore the original idea. Right? Come back to the position before the fall. So that means we come back to God's lineage, become a God's true son and daughter. Then, so we can go through this completion stage. Adam and Eve was not able to go through this stage, but after we meet the Messiah, then after we gain the rebirth, born into their God's lineage one more time, born again, then so we go through this last stage of the completion stage. Yeah? So Adam and Eve couldn't do that, but we are supposed to go through this with the Messiah, right? So then we can restore, right? We can realize the purpose of creation, and that means we can restore everything back to God, right? So on this foundation, we are to receive the Messiah and be reborn, and thereby be fully restored to the original state of human beings before the fall. Yeah. Position before the fall. Finally, by following the Messiah, we should continue our growth to maturity where we can fulfill the purpose of creation. No? So we want to reach the goal here. So after we meet the Messiah, then we'll be born through the Messiah. Then by following the Messiah, we grow to maturity and realize their God's idea. You know, that is our course, right? This is our course. So we are fallen here. First, what we have to do is separation from Satan. So we try to separate Satan from ourselves. Then we grow, even though we are in the Satan's domain. You know, we are still under Satan's domain. But you know, whenever Satan comes, we try to separate Satan. because we don't want Satan, right? So by separating Satan, we can grow spiritually. So then restore the position here, top of the growth stage, right? So we are ready to receive the Messiah. So then through the Messiah, then we can be reborn. Right? Then restore the position before the fall. So then by following the Messiah or uniting with the Messiah, we grow more. Right? So that's, that means like if we are under the Satan, if we do not really be born in the God's lineage, no matter what kind of effort we make, we can't really go through this one. We can never go beyond this line. Even any kind of saints, sages, any kind of great man, or even you might be become great man, However, so that the fact that you are under the Satan lineage, so you have a limitation. So that is a limitation. So then only through the Messiah we can break through that limitation, then coming back to the God's lineage, right? Restore the position before the fall. So then once you do that, then so that the way or gate is open, then you more freely you can receive God's love. And as we like practice, as we like live together with God, then spiritually we can really grow, right? So then now, as the what Dr. Young is talking every morning, so like we can connect to the God's heart, that's this stage, right? He is saying all the time, go beyond the top of the growth stage. Then actually like we can really understand God's heart more. Of course, even those people too, we can understand. Even you are here, sometimes you can catch it, However, it's just some limitation there because Satan is there always. Satan is always with us. Satan claim you, claim me. Therefore, there was some limitation. However, if we break through this line through the Messiah, then if we come back here, then we are under the God's not direct dominion, God's like a direct domain, like God's lineage. Therefore, so we can really develop our heart and eventually become one with God, right? So this is our restoration course. Okay, so then let's a little bit talk about this one, separation from Satan. Then what is this one? Life of separation from Satan until we receive the Messiah, right? So when we study more about the restoration, principle of restoration, then we learn about this foundation of faith and the foundation of substance. This, separation from Satan means restoring these two, restoring the faith and restoring the foundation of substance. These two things, right? Then throughout the history, we can, learn so many things. We can learn a lot of lessons from Adam's family, Noah's family, Abraham's, Moses, Jesus, So that's, that is, that we are going to study that continuously, right? But the fundamental principle is this foundation of faith and the foundation of substance. Because Adam and Eve lost these two. Adam and Eve was not able to establish a foundation of faith. That means keep the faith in God, not listening, rejecting Satan's temptation, rejecting the Satan's word, and just believe in only God's word. That is the foundation of faith. So Adam and Eve did not do that. So we are supposed to restore that. Then another one is foundation of substance, right? So we learn through the principle. This is a Cain-Abel relationship. The Adam was not able to love Lucifer. Therefore, that when you are standing in the Abel's position, then you are supposed to love Cain. When you are standing in the Cain's position, you are supposed to remove your fallen nature and unite with the Adam, who is the unite with Abel, who is standing in the Adam's position. So that's a love relationship, horizontal love relationship, right? So that means keep the faith in God, and love your brothers and sisters. If you say very simply, like that's kind of practice, right? So that's actually like when you really want to do this, it's not so easy. It's not so easy. So that's why we say separation from Satan. If we are with Satan, then not easy to keep the faith, right? So that's keep the faith. That is like really battling against Satan. Then love one another, love your enemy, foundation of substance. That's not easy, So Satan, that's if you are tempted by Satan, if you don't like somebody, then you don't like it. If you don't like, that's you don't like, then you don't like, right? So that's kind of a situation. So that's okay. So that's a separation from Satan. Now, when we accomplish this one, that's how we can establish the foundation for the Messiah. Then, based on that kind of foundation, spiritual foundation, then we can receive the Messiah. Right? Then, how we can gain the rebirth, actually, how we can gain the rebirth through the Messiah. That is the blessing. That's a blessing. So, in the Divine Principle book, we don't have this part, right? But how can we restore the position before the fall? That is the blessing. What is our it's not like a regular general blessing, right? When we say the blessing is the marriage blessing, then why that's involved the marriage? Because the fall, right? When we remember the fall happened with the man and woman relationship, Lucifer and Eve relationship, and Eve and Adam, the love relationship. That's how like Adam and Eve lost God. Then they fell, right? So this is like a fall of man here. This is a love relationship there. Man and woman's love relationship. Misuse of the man and woman's love relationship. Then that's a fall of man. So then that's how like we lost the relationship with God too. Yeah. So therefore, in order to restore it, that's then of course, like we need to study about the indemnity clause, principle of the indemnity. That in the principle of one part of the restoration, principle of restoration, right? Indemnity. How can we indemnify? So we have to go through the reversal course. We have to go through the reversal course. That's how we can indemnify things. That's how like we can separate Satan and come back to God, right? So that's why this here blessing, this through that blessing we can come back to the God's original original position before the fall. Means when we got married by God's blessing, means that the marriage centering on God, right? So that's happened by, that is possible only through the Messiah. Real marriage blessing with God is possible only by the Messiah. We are already cut off from God. That's why we cannot reach God, Then no matter how we make the effort to become a good man and woman and a good marriage, however, God cannot bless that, because our relationship was cut. Adam and Eve was kicked out from the Garden of Eden. Outside, kicked out. Then everybody's outside of the Garden of Eden. Yeah. So no relationship with God. So we need the God-centered marriage, right? So that's how we can indemnify the failure of Adam and Eve. So, okay, again, because Adam and Eve fell, through their love relationship, so we have to restore it. We have to indemnify the Adam and Eve's failure. That means we have to be truly get married, centering on God. Really receiving God's blessing, then we should get married, right? That is our blessing. So that is the blessing we can receive only from the Messiah, true parents. So that's so that means kind of this is important because we cannot come back to this. We cannot restore this, the position before the fall by yourself. So you cannot do that. So that's when we understand the principle, we cannot restore this position, position before the fall, without having their marriage, without having the God-centered marriage, well, without having your spouse, you and the spouse, right? You and the spouse together, then together you have to restore the fall of man. You have to restore the failure of Adam and Eve. So that is the only way. So then that kind of we never knew that. So we really did not know anything about those kind of things. So because of their principle, true parents revealed what is the fall of man. Then so he revealed their principle of restoration. So therefore, now we know, right? So then that's why like we have to be blessed by the true parents. I mean, we have to blessed by God, right? So then then we can restore this original position before the fall. Yeah. Okay, so that's maybe like a lot of story here. But when we look at this, like entire our course, right? This is like our restoration course. So going through this one, making the condition, then of course, like when we study the principle, like we always talk about the foundation for the Messiah. In order to receive the Messiah, then the Jewish people, Israelites made a lot of effort. In the Christian history, 2,000-year history, so they made a lot of effort to establish the foundation for the Messiah. And eventually this time came. 2,000 years ago, based on their 4,000 years history, then Jesus was able to come, right? And after that 2,000 years, then now like true parents were able to come. So that's a foundation for the Messiah, right? But this should apply to me, apply to you, basically, right? That's this our personal process is basically the same. My personal journey to restore the original idea, right? So that is this one. Okay, entire history is this one too. Long time. This is a 6,000 years history here. However, that my own life course is just like this. So that means in order to meet the Messiah, in order to meet the Messiah and receive the rebirth, right? In other words, in order to receive the blessing from their true parents, right? So then restore this one, right? This is the amazing thing, that restore the position before the fall. So personally, I have to establish the foundation for the Messiah. Otherwise, Satan accuse it. I mean, that's of course they could. I mean, you could receive the Messiah if your parents says okay, right? However, this is like this foundation for the Messiah means that's our internal quality, right? When you talk about the foundation of faith and the foundation of substance, how much like you can be with God all the time, right? So how much like you can separate Satan, that's the internal quality of myself. So that's that if we don't make an effort, then you could be very weak, against Satan. And the foundation of substance means how much you can love people, you know? How much you can do that, right? How much like you can remove your fallen nature, you know, then remove your selfishness, and always like stand God's position or parental position and love one another, you know. So that is our preparation. So we have to go through basically, you know, like that kind of like a spiritual journey. Then like you develop your internal qualification. Then you grow, right? So then so like that you are ready to get married with somebody. Then together with your spouse, right? Then indemnify the failure of Adam and Eve, you know. So that's you know that is a blessing. That's how like we can really achieve the God's purpose of creation, eternal happiness here. So you know, of course, this is our goal, right? How can we get there, right? This you know, how can I get here? Realize the purpose of creation, then be with God all the time, then be happy with God all the time, right? So you know, we are going through that kind of journey. Actually, like entire human history was, you know, led by God, you know, last 6,000 years. The goal is here, you know. Then now, like we are living in this kind of time. Now, like we can really change everything, you know. Of course, like not at once, you know. First, I have to really go this way. Then you have to go that way. Then like you can bring other people, right? So that's any principle. Yeah. So that is like our course. All right. So deal with indemnity. Little bit talk about indemnity today. So, you know, when we study about the principle of the restoration through indemnity, right? So we need to understand this one first. We are standing the midway position. You know, we are standing in midway position. Okay, maybe let's read. Immediately after the fall, when Adam and Eve had the original sin, but have not yet committed any subsequent good or evil deeds, they found themselves in the midway position. Basically, they are Adam and Eve. They are in between God and Satan, right? In between. So then, of course, like when we study the principle, if we make a good condition, then God can take you to God's side. If you make a bad condition, then the Satan take you to the Satan's side. You know, so that's you know, we are standing that kind of position. We are standing midway position. You know, the indemnity condition means we need some condition if I want to come back to God. Condition, good condition, right? We call indemnity condition. So you know, when we decide to do that, when we kind of okay, if I decide, okay, I want to go back to God. I want to restore my original myself. I want to really come back to God and you know, fulfill their God's three blessings, right? So that means like that almost you declare. That means like you declare the war against Satan. So that's a situation. You know, that's a battle, right? That is a battle. So that because we are standing in the between God and Satan, you know, if I want to come back to God, then Satan never say, okay, I let you go. You know, Satan never say that, right? Satan wants to keep you. Satan wants to keep you. You know, that's we are always with Satan, then we are always controlled by Satan, you know. So then this world is Satan's world. Satan is the ruler of this world, right? Satan is the God of this world. Satan was always dominating us, no matter what. Then I declared, okay, I want to go back to God. I want to say bye to Satan. Yeah. So that's you know, that means like we start their kind of the war against Satan. You know? So that's that we start battle. That's a start, but battle will start from that time on, right? If we do not decide that, you may not need to really struggle, you know. If you don't really decide to go back to God, you may not, you may not have to struggle. Just so you can be like you, you know. Of course, like, you know, like, I don't know, you want to be like yourself, you know. You don't want to lose yourself, of course. But actual, yes, in order to gain the actual true yourself, then you have to go through the struggle. That's like obvious, because Satan is trying to get you. Satan is trying to keep you. Then that's like you have to cut them off, right? That our life is separation from Satan, you know, separation from Satan. So because Satan is always with us, you know, he used to be, you know, Satan said, okay, you used to be my friend, right? My son, right? Then like we said, no, I don't want to be your son. I don't want to be your friend anymore. You know, that's a battle. If you allow Satan to be with me as a friend, you know, like that's, you know, like hand in hand, walking together, living together with Satan, you may not, you know, like you may not really like the feeling they're battling every day, you know, fighting, internal fighting so much. You may not have to do that actually, you know, just a compromise, you know. Or sometimes I don't like people, you know, sometimes I become selfish, then what's wrong? You know, that's a human being, right? You know, then sometimes I did bad things. I know, you know, I know this is bad, but sometimes you are tempted by something, then that's you did bad things. You know, you kind of regret a little bit, conscience stricken, guilty sometimes. You know, but just as a human, that is normal things. You know, everybody's like that. You know, then why not? You know, I'm not like a saint and say this, of course. Then, you know, like you may not really try to be better, right? You know, so okay, the point is this: when we start the life of restoration, when we hear this one, when we start the life of the restoration, right? So then that's you start struggling. You know, when we decide to live the life of the restoration, then like that we start struggling. Yeah. So that's a, you know, that's kind of inevitable. You know, it's kind of really sad, but but that's a good struggling life. You know, then when you overcome it, then you feel really good. You really feel good. When you overcome something, then you feel really good. Then eventually, like you know how to fight against Satan, right? So that is like this life, you know, like before you meet the Messiah, before you receive the you know, the rebirth from the Messiah through the blessing, right? So we need to go through that kind of like the life of faith training, you know, life of faith training. Yeah. So that's why, you know, like, okay, so we have a carp, right? The members are that's what they are trying to do, you know, by doing. If you are just like the doing nothing, you know, then you can't really train yourself, right? You know, like, let's see, you know, like if you are just standing, then okay, you know, usually like you don't realize that the AI is around, you know. I don't know, maybe you realize that. Right? If you're like just still in the room, then like the no fun, anything, you don't move, right? Then you don't feel anything. Even air is around you, then you don't feel anything, right? But like once like you start running so hard, you know, then like you feel that's air is around us. You know, like air is pushing me, right? When you run, you know, like that. When you like really move, So then like you know that something is there. You know, when you start doing something, you know, that some kind of activities with anything, you know. So then you realize that there's a Satan is there. When then you realize that, oh, this is the issue that I have to overcome, or you know, something like that. So you know, that's why like that's you know, we encourage the young people to do something with the carp or whatever, you know, doesn't matter where or what, you know, that just like the practice things, then some kind of challenging things, then so you realize, we realize something. I don't know, we may need some kind of okay, let me see, like even like you do some kind of like a, you know, carp fundraising a little bit, right? So then then usually like we don't really face that the some kind of like a rejection or like the cast by somebody, you know, that kind of stuff. Yeah. So that's like a, but like when you start like doing some fundraising for their cup, fundraising for their some kind of good cause, you know, but the people don't like it, then they may curse you, you know, like misunderstand you, or like some you may meet the people or who had a bad time, you know, who's in a bad day, bad mood, you know. So then when you like see that kind of person, then they may curse you, right? So then that's kind of experience that, you know, unless you experience that, then you don't know how you're gonna react that, you know, how you're gonna feel it, right? So then when you got that, then like you feel, mm, I don't know, you know, that depends on the people. You may like you may like beat the guy up, you know, why you say that, you know, like that. So that's short temper guy, or like you may be depressed, you know, oh, you know, I can't do this anymore. So right, so you know, like any kind things coming up when you face some kind of situation, then you kind of you face yourself, then you know yourself more, you know. Oh, I didn't know I'm so weak, I didn't know I have such a short temper, you know, I didn't know like I'm you know, I easily hate people. Or like even sometimes I don't hate people, but I get crushed by people easily, you know, depressed so easily, you know, that kind of stuff, right? So if you don't do that, then you don't know, you know. But that's kind of important thing, like that experience, life experience is so good, right? So now, you know, like then we have we do that witnessing too, right? The time by time, then that's good. Then that's more difficult actually, you know. Then like when you are like the witnessing means you love somebody, you love your friend, you know, witness somebody, then you love them, trying to convey their God's word, you know, try to help the people, right? And then actually like if you really invest your heart, then like you really invest your heart to somebody, but many times you are betrayed by them. Many times like you are ignored by them. No matter how much you love them, then they don't take it. So actually like they may curse you after that, you know? So difficult, right? So difficult. But when we experience something like that, that's like a very like that's the precious experience, you know. Like if you don't have that kind of experience, how can you understand God? You know, we've been then you know, when I betray God, then oh, God feels much, God must feel like this, you know, right? Then oh, you know, then or how God feels, you know, when he was betrayed by children, ignored by children. If children curse him, you know, children is cursing their true parents, God, you know, then that when you stand that kind of position, then you understand. I understand the first time, you know. So right. So, you know, like, then, you know, if you don't have those kind of enemy, if you don't have the, you know, like sometimes, you know, you need an enemy. You know, enemy means like somebody who hates you, or, you know, somebody who don't like you or whatever, you know, or like somebody like you really can't really love, right? That kind of person, you know, then if you don't have those kind of people, if we are just surrounded by the very nice people, you know, then you never understand how you feel about those, you know, when you are hated by somebody, you know, like you even misunderstood by somebody. So sad, you know. Then like Jesus said, love your enemy. Then like you then you first time you can face, can I love this kind of person? You know, the challenge. Can I really love this person? Right? If you don't have that kind of person, then you may not. You know, of course, like, you know, you may have sometimes you have a lot of people like that. I don't know, you know, but that's a challenge. You know, if you really can love them, or can I? Right? If that is too hard, then you can. Right? But if that is a small enemy, you may be able to overcome it, you know, then that kind of experience is important, right? If that is a bit too big, the Satan was too big, then the challenge is too big, then so you just can't, right? However, that this like a life, you know, training life, until you reach here, training bit by bit, supported by other people, you know, because you have a friend around you, then like then you can challenge a little bit more, you know. So then actually like, you know, sometimes like you experience the breakthrough, you know. I did not know that I could love this kind of person. I didn't know that, but now I can do, you know, that kind of like, somehow like when you break through that some kind of like a wall or ceiling, you know, so that's a spiritual like breakthrough. So then when you experience that, that becomes your confidence, right? So, you know, like that, the reason why I'm telling this one is that we need that. We need to experience that, right? Before you have your eternal spouse, you know, before you have your eternal spouse who can go through this, you know, you know, like the indemnity course to restore, indemnify the Adam and Eve's failure, then together come back to their God's lineage and go through together, right? Okay, our restoration course, you and your spouse go through this one together, you know, so that they go through together, then grow more, right? So that's before you have that kind of like an eternal spouse who can walk the path of their restoration and realize their God's purpose of creation together, right? So we want to kind of, I want to make sure, every one of us wants to make sure that I have certain kind of the ability to separate Satan and together with God and love even my enemy, you know. So without the substantial experience, so you know, you don't really know, you know, until like you experience it, right? So that's why, you know, some certain kind of the substantial with their body, you know, do something, live for the sake of others, approaching people, or, you know, giving a service to people, talking to people, you know, witnessing is very nice because you have a lot of rejection, and many times you are betrayed by those people, but you still love them. How can I do that? You know, that's you know, unless you experience, then you never know. You know, like you are sincerely investing, then they don't feel anything. Then sometimes like they curse you, then they say bye, you know, I hate you, see you later, or like, bye eternally, you know, heartbroken, right? You get depressed. Yeah, you may be dead for 10 days. like that, then you can't even wake up. That kind of like that, the experience is really precious. I mean, right? Any kind of that kind of things is very important. So that's why we need some kind of a challenge. You know what I mean? You know, like we need some kind of challenge. No matter what, no matter what you do, you have to have a training and then practicing training, right? Then also you get better. So that's spiritual growth too, spiritual growth. So yeah, that's why like hopefully like you can find some kind of things to do with your friends, with their COP members, with your church members, or anybody, then kind of like a challenge yourself, right? So that kind of life is important. Yeah. Otherwise, like, even though we may study the principle of restoration, Adam's family, Noah's family, then Abraham's family, so you may understand something, but like our understanding, well, like Dr. Young is always talking about the heart, understanding the heart or love, right? That's really depends on how much you experience, you know. Um, that's why that part is very important. That is today's message. So we're gonna go through more, from Adam's family, and maybe one more time we're gonna go through the overview of the restoration, maybe, because divine principle is teaching a very important things. That the next part is like you are the central figure, historical central person. So that's divine principle is emphasizing. Then I think that is really true. That is really true. How much important you are, right? That's the principle is really making sure that please understand, you are chosen by God to do this, then you are the first, you are the first one. If we can pioneer this way, this restoration course, right? So that's an important thing too. Then when we study, why we studied Adam's family, Noah's family, Abraham's family, because they can teach us. We can learn lots of things how to overcome this. What's their secret? What is the lesson we have to learn, right? So by learning that, then you can apply that to our life, so that then we can be victorious. Right? That's why we need to study the divine principle. All right, I think that is it today. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.